Why do we work so hard to afford a life we never consciously chose? You get the raise, the title changes, the number in your bank account rises, and almost immediately, the life you already had begins to look too small. Not because it stopped working, because it stopped looking like the life of someone who earns what you now earn. On a Thursday night in Rivergate, Mara Ellison stood alone in a furniture showroom, running her hand across a 12-foot walnut dining table. It cost $18,400. The salesperson called it an heirloom. Mara imagined candlelight, holiday dinners, executives leaning toward her as she spoke. She imagined her daughter doing homework at one end, while something warm simmered in the kitchen. There was only one problem. Mara's family had never once asked for a new table. And in 23 minutes, her daughter Lily would step onto a school stage and look for her in the audience. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is WiseMindStories. In this episode, you'll discover why intelligent people buy things they do not truly want, how old pain disguises itself as good taste, and one question that can interrupt the purchase before it starts writing your life for you. Because Mara was not really shopping for furniture. She was shopping for evidence. 6 hours earlier, Mara had been standing in Brightcart's glass conference room while rain blurred the city beyond the windows. Brightcart shipped household essentials to nearly 2 million customers. Soap, storage bins, towels, kitchen tools, useful things. But useful things had thin margins. So the company was preparing something new. Ben, the COO, tapped the first slide. Ascend. The word appeared over a photograph of a spotless, cream-colored living room where no one seemed to live. Premium home membership, Ben said. Curated upgrades for the next version of you. Mara glanced at Priya across the table. Priya raised one eyebrow, then kept going. Brightcart's board was considering acquisition offers. Ascend could raise revenue, improve the brand, and prove that Brightcart understood affluent customers. Then he looked directly at Mara. I want you to lead the customer experience. It was not the vice president title, not yet, but it was the path to it. There would be a retention bonus, more exposure to the board, a leadership dinner at Mara's house in 3 weeks. At her house, Ben smiled. You understand aspiration without making it feel fake. Mara heard only one word: aspiration. For 10 years, she had rescued launches, calmed angry customers, and answered messages after everyone else went to sleep. She knew where Brightcart's fragile systems were held together by exhausted human beings. She had earned this. Still, when the meeting ended, Mara did not call Daniel to celebrate. She opened the photo she had taken of their dining room that morning. The old table was oak veneer. One corner had swollen after Lily spilled orange juice when she was 7. Daniel's chair squeaked. A stack of unopened mail occupied the far end. Nothing in the room was broken, but through the eyes of a future vice president, everything looked like an apology. Big day, Priya said from the doorway. Mara locked her phone. Very big. Are you happy? Mara laughed too quickly. I'm already planning the dinner. That was not an answer, but it sounded like one. Morgan Housel begins The Art of Spending Money with a scene from his college years when he worked as a valet at a luxury hotel in Los Angeles. One day, a wealthy man walked out of a high-end furniture show and told a friend he had spent $21,000 on an armchair. The valets were stunned. The man noticed their faces and explained that he knew it was crazy. But when you have money, he said, this is what you are supposed to do. Supposed to do. Those words reveal something more interesting than the price. Maybe he loved the chair. Housel could not know. But the sentence raised a question that follows us far beyond furniture. How much of what we call desire is actually obedience? We inherit scripts about what success looks like. A serious adult buys a house. A good parent pays for the best school. A person with an important job drives the right car. A family that is doing well should have a home that proves it before anyone asks. These scripts rarely arrive as orders. They arrive as images, as comments, as the quiet fear that someone will look at what we have and correctly identify what we still doubt about ourselves. Mara had never created a dining table budget. She had never written walnut on a wish list. She had simply heard that the leadership dinner would be at her house, and a perfectly functional object became unbearable. A purchase can be yours financially and still belong to someone else psychologically. At 5:08 that evening, Daniel texted her. Lily goes on at 6:15. She keeps checking the door. Mara typed, "Leaving now." Then the salesperson placed a fabric book beside her. "If you want delivery before your dinner, tonight is the cutoff." There it was. Not a deadline for furniture. A deadline for becoming the woman Mara thought the room expected. Housel's first chapter makes a compassionate argument. Almost all financial behavior makes sense when you know enough about the person. What looks irrational from the outside may be completely coherent inside someone's history. Someone who grew up with scarcity may hoard cash long after the danger is gone. Someone who once felt invisible may spend aggressively on symbols that make people look. A parent may pay a painful tuition bill not only for education, but to defeat a childhood memory. The book discusses what financial educator Tiffany Aliche calls post-traumatic broke syndrome, the way old deprivation can keep directing present decisions after circumstances change. This does not mean every emotionally charged purchase is wrong. It means every purchase has a biography. Mara's began in a grocery store when she was 11. Her mother, Jo, had placed milk, bread, eggs, and a small box of birthday candles on the conveyor belt. When the card declined, Jo removed the candles first. The cashier was kind. That made it worse. Mara remembered the man behind them looking away, pretending not to notice. She remembered wanting to tell everyone that her mother worked hard, that this was temporary, that they were not the kind of people the red word declined made them appear to be. That night, Jo stuck 11 matches into Mara's cake. They laughed when the smoke alarm went off. It was, in many ways, a loving memory. But shame has a strange talent. It can hide inside love and keep growing. Mara made a promise she never said aloud. One day, no one would have to be kind to her because they pitied what she could not afford. 27 years later, that promise was standing in a showroom, wearing the name European Walnut. The emotional reversal is easy to miss. Mara's problem was not that she had become shallow. It was that she was still protecting an 11-year-old girl from a checkout line that no longer existed. Some upgrades are old emergencies wearing new clothes. At 5:41, Mara signed. The salesperson shook her hand. Champagne appeared in a narrow glass. For 12 seconds, Mara felt weightless. Then she saw Daniel's second message. They moved her group earlier. She ran through rain with her heels in one hand. She called a car. Traffic on Mercer Avenue had stopped behind an accident. At 6:18, Daniel sent a photograph. Lily stood beside a miniature city made from cardboard and blue wire. Tiny gardens covered the roofs. A model bus moved along a hand-painted lane. Next to Lily was an empty folding chair with Mara's scarf saving the seat. The caption said only, "She did great." Mara arrived as parents were carrying projects to their cars. Lily saw her and smiled. That almost made it easier. "Did Dad show you the tram?" Lily asked. "He did. I'm so sorry. The meeting ran late." Daniel looked at her. Not angry, just tired. The meeting had not run late. The lie was small enough to survive. That made it dangerous. In the car, Lily explained that her city had no luxury district. Mara asked why. Because I only had one piece of cardboard left, Lily said. So I made places people use every day. The sentence landed harder than accusation. At home, Mara looked at the old dining table. Lily spread the miniature city across it. The swollen corner became a hill. Daniel brought takeout noodles. Blue wire caught on the scratch where Grandma Jo had once dropped a serving dish. The table held all of it. Mara almost told them about the new one. But the purchase no longer felt like celebration. It felt like evidence from a crime scene. Money is most expensive when it buys a symbol and charges you a moment. This is the first great tension in the art of spending money. The price is visible. The cost often is not. $18,400 would leave their account. But the deeper cost was an empty chair in a school auditorium, a small lie to Daniel, and Mara's growing habit of treating the people she loved as the part of life that could be rescheduled. Most financial advice would now ask whether Mara could afford the table. Technically, she could. The retention bonus covered it. They had no credit card debt. Their retirement contributions were automatic. A spreadsheet could classify the purchase as extravagant but survivable. The spreadsheet could not answer the important question, whose desire was this? That is why Housel calls spending an art rather than a science. There is no universal formula that can tell one family a table is foolish and another family it is meaningful. The same object can be waste, joy, craft, status, memory, or utility. Context changes the answer. Mara might have been a woodworker who understood every joint. She might have hosted 12 relatives every Sunday. She might have dreamed about this table for 10 years. Then the price would still be high. But the purchase would have a different biography. The mistake was not spending a large amount. The mistake was asking only, "Can I pay for it?" She had not asked, "What problem do I believe this will solve?" At 10:47 that night, Mara found the contract in her email. There was a 24-hour cancellation window. Her thumb hovered over the number. From the dining room, she heard Lily tell Daniel that Ascend sounded like a mountain climbing club. Daniel said, "Maybe it is." Mara could cancel. She knew that. But she imagined Ben entering their house. She imagined the old table squeaking under his elbows. She imagined the board seeing the room and revising its opinion of her competence. None of that was likely. It did not need to be likely to be powerful. This is how a social script protects itself. It converts a want into a requirement, then makes questioning the requirement feel irresponsible. Mara closed the email. She kept the table, not because it made sense, because canceling it would require her to disappoint an audience that existed mostly in her imagination. The title of Housel's introduction points toward the quest of the simple life. Simple does not mean cheap. It does not mean refusing comfort or pretending money cannot improve life. It means reducing the number of invisible forces allowed to command your choices. A simple financial life can include expensive things, but it has fewer supposed tos, fewer purchases that require a false story afterward, fewer upgrades that become permanent obligations, fewer hours spent earning back the moments sacrificed to prove you were successful. The next morning, Mara visited Grandma Jo before work. Jo was repotting basil on her apartment balcony. She wore a sweatshirt older than Lily. Mara told her about Ascend, the bonus, the board dinner. She did not mention the school presentation. She did mention the table. Jo's hands stopped in the soil. "Do you love it?" Mara expected a lecture about the price. Joe had once driven across town to return a $6 jar of olives. "That's not the point," Mara said. "It's an investment in how I host." Joe nodded slowly. "That wasn't my question." Mara looked through the balcony door at Joe's tiny kitchen table. It had belonged to Mara's grandmother. The surface was burned in one spot and polished smooth in another. "I don't know yet," Mara said. Joe pressed the basil into its new pot. "Then maybe you bought the answer before you asked the question." Mara left irritated. Irritation is sometimes the mind's bodyguard. It arrives when a truth gets too close. At Brightcart, Ben showed her the first Ascend customer profile. The team had named the fictional customer Caroline. Caroline was 41, recently promoted, busy, anxious about hosting, interested in products that signal a considered life. Mara read the slide twice. Caroline was fictional, but someone had built her from real customer interviews. And Mara had met her in the showroom the night before. Here is the experiment for this episode. Do not build a new budget. Choose one purchase you are considering, or one purchase you already regret, and make a supposed to receipt. Write one sentence. "I believe a person like me is supposed to buy this because..." Then finish it without trying to sound reasonable. "Because I got promoted. Because my friends already have one. Because good parents do this. Because people with my income should not still drive that car. Because I am terrified someone will confuse simplicity with failure." You are not trying to shame the purchase. You are identifying its author. If the sentence sounds true, and you still love what the money will do, buy it with clear eyes. But if the sentence reveals an audience, an old wound, or a role you never chose, wait 24 hours. The goal is not to spend less. The goal is to stop spending unconsciously. The art of spending begins when "I can afford it" stops being the final question. On Monday morning, the new table arrived. 4 movers carried it through the front door like a dark wooden boat. It was beautiful. Mara was not disappointed. That would have been easier. She loved the grain. She loved the weight. She loved how the room changed around it. Then, Lily placed her cardboard city on top. Mara reacted before she could stop herself. "Careful." Lily froze. The old table had been a place where life happened. The new table had arrived as a place life could damage. Mara saw the difference on her daughter's face. "It's okay," Mara said, softer now. "Put it down." Lily did. But she kept both hands beneath the cardboard. The table had not changed the family yet. Only one sentence had. "Careful." And in 3 weeks, the most important people at Brightcart would sit around it. Mara believed the room would finally show them who she was. She had not yet realized that expensive things can attract attention while hiding the person who bought them. Mara thought she was buying a table for her future. But part of her was still spending money in a grocery store from 27 years ago. That is today's core insight. A purchase can solve a real need, or it can obey an old script. The receipt will not tell you which one. So try the supposed to receipt today. Choose one purchase and finish this sentence honestly. "A person like me is supposed to buy this because..." If this story helped you recognize the hidden author behind your own spending, subscribe to Wise Mind Stories. Because when Brightcart's leaders finally gather around Mara's beautiful new table, they will notice it. They may even envy it. But Mara is about to learn that being noticed and being respected are not the same thing, and confusing them can cost you the respect of the person sitting closest to you. Next episode teaser. Brightcart's senior leaders are coming to Mara's home. The table will do exactly what she hoped. It will make people look. But when Lily overhears what the adults admire and what they fail to notice, Mara will face a harder question. If status can buy attention but not respect, what was the purchase really for?